I'm a Nightborn Ice Mage. My frost is 1% frostier. Speaking of Nightborn, don't you think that's an interesting concept? Sunwell, Nightwell. Think about this. Do you guys know what the word Shaladrasil means? So, Drasil means crown of. So, what comes before is the primary descriptor. In this case, shal means shadow. So, they never really overtly say this, but Nightborn are Shadowborn elves. Shaldorai. They say Nightwell. But I think that's funny because it's all attributed to Arcane. And then you have Void Elves and you're like, well, no, those are Shadow Elves. But it's like, well, once again, why do we have a distinction between Shadow and Void? Even though the Titan's cosmology chart tries to say that they're the same thing. I think that's what Zal's when Zal says, how could you possibly hope to understand what the Titans could not? I think that's what she's talking about. Why do the Titans associate the old gods with Void? I think that's the big crux of this thing, is that Shadow and Void are not the same thing. Death is just called death. It's so funny because we say things like light is life and life is light. But people don't associate Shadow with death as often as they do Shadow with Void, which I think is very interesting because when you think about Death Knights, Death Knight abilities, death and decay, the fact that they use like diseases and like shadow magic is really what it is. It's like, we really blur the line between Void and Shadow very often. I thought Ren means Shadow or Void. It must mean Void because here's the deal. Shaladrasil is called the Crown of Shadow. So you can't say that and then look at Shaldorai and not associate Shadow. You cannot do it. If we're gonna respect what the language is, I'm pretty sure that you shall mean Shadow. So Rendorai would mean Voidborn, I would think. Because Shal and Ren are not the same word. Shal means shadow. So Ren can't mean shadow. You know what I'm saying? Well, I guess it could, because if it's like the English language, you could have multiple words for the same thing. But what I'm suggesting is that there is a clear separation between Shadow and Void that should probably be acknowledged and respected. Because when you read Chronicled and it tells you that the old god's sole purpose was to spread death and despair, it's like, okay. That's weird, considering that the old gods came from the Void, but we know that the Void hates death? Why would the old gods spread death and despair then? That doesn't make any sense. It's part of what I've been trying to point out for a long time, is that, like, Void and Shadow are commonly misconstrued to be the same thing. And let me just show you guys, because you might think I sound crazy. And I am. I'd like to introduce you to my Xal'atath-wielding, cult-fanatical, Naru-following, not light and void corrupted at all, priest. The name's Pyromancer, and I'm a fucking problem. This is what Shadow Priest says. Uses sinister shadow magic and terrifying void magic to eradicate enemies. Even in current World of Warcraft, they are defining these as different magics. Shadow and Void are not the same thing. It's one of the fundamental misunderstandings, if not the core fundamental misunderstanding, in this novel. Shadow and Void are the same thing here. That's not correct. This is why they put the old gods and the Void Lords on the same area. That's not correct. They don't go together like that. We've been tricked into believing that they do, because they probably are relying upon the power of the Void to even fucking exist, or non-exist, or I don't even know at this point. The old gods, you know, they even come in different forms, shapes, and sizes with different powers. They don't seem to belong here. They don't even go here. And I understand why, to a lot of people, it would make sense that they do. But there's a reason why they're separating Shadow and Void in the game, and why they have done so, and will probably continue to do so for a long time. And probably till the end of it. Because what they think about this is actually mostly correct. The undead being there is, you know, that's a thing, but, you know, whatever. That's fine. Undead can exist actually in any cosmic force. Actually, necromancy is necromancy, and any magic can be used to accomplish it. So what I'm saying is that, you know, Shadow and Void are two separate things. The differences between Dark Ascension, which is, well, that's a thing, and something like a Void Torrent, or, you know, something like that, like Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain. Like, these are things more associated with shadow magic. There are some Void things in here. It depends on what you pick up in your toolkit, but like Void Eruption, yeah, that's, yeah. So, but yeah, they seem to pretty distinctly identify Shadow and Void as different things.